Hebrew has many fundamentals that are simple to comprehend once the alphabet and Niqqud are well known. Basic words and phrases in Hebrew include question words, personal pronouns, days of the week, months, time words, greetings and farewells, and numbers. In this lesson, I will explain all of these concepts while showing their translation and transliteration. However, this will be the last video in Hebrew where I will use transliteration, because after this lesson, the knowledge of how to read in Hebrew should be enough. If it's not, I will do my best at pronouncing every Hebrew word correctly, so that you can listen to how Hebrew sounds. Still, this is something that you should be used to, at the very least, but I will continue to show the Niqqud and translation of every word. Question words in Hebrew are known as interrogative words, often used to ask questions that cannot be answered with a simple yes or no. They're useful for specifying the context of a sentence and indicating how the receiver of the question should respond. And in Hebrew, such words are affected by gender and number. What is ma? Who is me? When is matai? Why is lama? Which is eze? How is ech? How much or how many is kama? Where is efo? This word can also change when a preposition is added to it, like asking from where or to where. From where is me'efo, and to where is le'an. In addition, there are question words that are related to who, like whose, which is a question put in a possessive pronoun form, used to ask who possesses something. In English, the word gets modified, but in Hebrew, only a preposition is added, shel mi, which means of whom, because asking whose technically gives the same meaning as of whom. This is understood more in context, like asking, whose pen is this? Shel mi ha'et hazeh. Then, Hebrew has personal pronouns which are replacements for proper names of people. These are ani, ata, at, hu, he, anachnu, atem, aten, hem, hen. I, you, he, she, we, you all or y'all, and they. English formally doesn't have y'all, but I'm including it because Hebrew has it. Also, because Hebrew is highly gendered, some of its pronouns are split by applying to masculine or feminine subjects, which doesn't exist in English, like you, y'all, and they. In English, these pronouns are neutral and can apply to any subject, but in Hebrew, they're gendered, considering the fact that verb conjugations will also change, depending on a subject's gender. Ata means you masculine, and at means you feminine. Atem means y'all masculine, and aten means y'all feminine. Hem means they masculine, and hen means they feminine. Additionally, unlike English, Hebrew doesn't have a formal pronoun for it, which is why you don't see it. Aside from personal pronouns, Hebrew can also modify them, having object pronouns, possessive pronouns, and reflexive pronouns, which are all affected by grammatical person, gender, and number of the noun they replace. For now, it's better to show them but not explain them, because they require a lot of explanation in future videos. Then, Hebrew has the days of the week that are named in order, and actually, the Hebrew week begins on Sunday. According to Jewish faith, the world was created in 6 days, and the seventh and last day was Saturday, which in Hebrew is Shabbat. Shabbat, meaning Sabbath, a day of abstinence from work, because God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh day. For this reason, the Jewish week begins on the day after Saturday. Except for Shabbat, the Hebrew weekdays are named in order. Rishon literally means first. Sheni means second. Shlishi means third. Revi'i means fourth. Chamishi means fifth. And Shishi means sixth. Moreover, the names of the weekdays are all masculine because day in Hebrew is Yom, which is a masculine noun, and for this reason, the names are written to fit the gender of Yom. Then, Hebrew has the months, which have similar correlations to their pronunciation in English. Januar, Februar, März, April, Mai, Juni, Juli, August, September, October, November, and December. These are the names of the months from the Gregorian calendar, but in Hebrew culture, there's a Hebrew or Jewish calendar that is used for religious observance. It's not that necessary to know this calendar, but if you love to study the Jewish culture, then you can learn about it. Other than that, it's really not needed in this lesson, but it is fun to mention. Then, Hebrew has common time words like shniya, daka, sha'a, yom, shavua, chodesh, shana, etmol, hayom, and machar. Then, Hebrew has a lot of useful greetings and farewells. These phrases can be very useful when speaking the language and meeting new ideas. Common greetings are Boker Tov, Tzehoraim Tovim, Yom Tov, Erev Tov, Laila Tov, which explain the time of day. In English, adjectives are placed before nouns they describe, but in Hebrew, they're placed after. You can also see that Tzehoraim is a plural noun, which explains why its adjective is also changed. Greetings that are used for meeting people can be Ma Shlomcha, masculine, or Ma Shlomech, feminine. Ma Kore, Ma Hamatzav, Ech Holech, and Naim Lehakir Otcha, masculine, or Naim Lehakir Otach, feminine. Some informal greetings can be Hi, Shalom, and Shalom Lachem. Words that express gratitude are Toda, Toda Rabba, and Bevakasha. Bevakasha can also mean please. Common farewells and other expressions that can be used with any person are Bye, Lehitraot, Ani Mitzta'er, masculine, or Ani Mitzta'eret, feminine, Ani Mitnatzel, masculine, or Ani Mitnatzelet, feminine, and Bruchim Habaim. Finally, Hebrew has numbers that are spelled and pronounced like this: Efes, Achat, Shtaim, Shalosh, Arba, Chamesh, Shesh, Sheva, Shmone, Tesha, Eser. In Hebrew, numbers are affected by grammatical person, gender, and quantity. And actually, this is the standard way of saying Hebrew numbers when counting, which are all feminine. To make them masculine, some grammatical changes are needed, like saying Echad, Shnaim, Shlosha, Arba'a, Chamisha, Shisha, Shiv'a, Shmona, Tish'a, Asara. As you can see, the numbers vary depending on gender, so we need to carefully watch out for this rule. Hebrew numbers 11 through 20 are constructed in a pattern that combines the unit 1 through 9 with the word Eser, using a slightly different structure than English. These numbers still agree in gender, so we'll have masculine and feminine forms, depending on the noun they describe. The general construction is compound, having a unit number, 1 through 9, with Eser coming after. The feminine numbers are used with feminine nouns. Achat esre, Shteim esre, Shalosh esre, Arba esre, Chamesh esre, Shesh esre, Sheva esre, Shmone esre, Tesha esre, Esrim. The masculine numbers are used with masculine nouns. Echad asar, Shnaim asar, Shlosha asar, Arba asar, Chamisha asar, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. When we get to numbers like 20, the form is the same for both. And at this point, numbers like 20, 30, 40, 50, etc. are based on a plural form of the unit 2 through 9 with a pattern that ends in im, which is a masculine plural suffix. These numbers are used for counting, don't change based on gender, and behave like quantity words. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. These numbers are grammatically masculine, but they can be used with masculine or feminine nouns, depending on the specific number that follows. For compound numbers like 21, 35, 99, you can combine the tens units with the ones units, like saying 21, masculine, or 21, feminine, literally meaning 20 and 1. And the same concept applies to any other compound number. When saying numbers like 100, 1,000, or million, some words may change because of plurality, like 100, which is feminine, and so the unit before it must match the gender, like 100, 200, 300, 500, and so on. 1,000 in Hebrew is 1000, and it's masculine, so numbers before it must be in masculine form. 1000, 2000, 3000, 6000, and so on. 1,000,000 in Hebrew is masculine, so numbers before it also must be in masculine form. מיליון, 2 מיליונים, 5 מיליונים, and so on. At last, Hebrew has ordinal numbers that have to match the gender of the noun they describe. Masculine numbers have masculine forms, and you can even see how they were used before when I described the days of the week. Aside from being used for weekdays, they're also used as ordinal numbers and show position. ראשון, שני, שלישי, רביעי, חמישי, שישי, שביעי, שמיני, תשעי, עשירי. Feminine numbers have feminine forms, and they look like this. ראשונה, שנייה, שלישית, רביעית, חמישית, שישית, שביעית, שמינית, תשעית, עשירית. Listing numbers past עשירי and עשירית is too excessive, so overall, these are basic words, phrases, and fundamentals in Hebrew. In the next videos, we can get to intermediate concepts like verb conjugation, but remember that I will not use transliteration anymore. So, from this point, you should be able to read Hebrew without English letters, but I will still translate the words and show the Niqqud in every upcoming lesson.